Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thank you, Brand Innovators. Thank you, Samsung. Thank you, Publicis. Thank you, Jen. Really excited to be here to talk about marketing, to talk about innovation, and to talk about sports. So feeling very lucky that that's what this panel is about. You're pretty lucky you've had a bunch of jobs in sports. Do you want to talk about what led you to FanDuel and what led you to the sports gaming world?
Sure. So I've been in sports entertainment for 24 years or so. And yeah, I've kind of always bridged the gap between both. But one of the things I did a few years back was I actually was at Monumental Sports, which was down in DC. They're essentially the Madison Square Garden of DC, where they own the arena and all the teams. And one of the things that the Leonsis family wanted to do was start their first streaming platform, knowing that people aren't going to games like they used to. But then how could they see the content? How could they still interact with the brand? So I went down there to launch that platform for them. And to be honest, so much of it was knowing that at some point sports betting would be legal so that we'd be able to add the lines into the broadcast. And that's kind of how I really started my interest level from the sports betting side. And then after that, actually was over at PointsBet for some time, which is a smaller book who now you guys know Fanatics owns. And then, yeah, I've been at FanDuel for 2+ years.
Well, there's some people with some pretty cool jobs in this room, but I suspect that every room that you walk into, people still want to talk about what it is that you do for a living. So can you talk a little bit about what makes FanDuel special?
Yeah, sure. So let me back up a little bit. So overall, from my position at FanDuel is overseeing our brand strategy, but also our social content and our product marketing. So all of it that rolls into the brand and everything that we want to make sure is out there to customers, to fans, engagement, all of that. Especially when you talk about social, right? It's our first, it's how most people engage with us right off the bat. But yeah, I mean, listen, we are America's #1 sports book for a reason. Our product is what makes it the best, right? You have a great experience. But that's one thing that we lean into from the brand side is really why, right? Why, what can we do to enhance your experience watching games and whatnot? And we think about make every moment more, and that's what we really lean into because it's all about making that experience better, right? How many people here probably don't care as much about certain sports, and when they have money on it, they're watching it to the buzzer, right? So there's so much that sports betting can do to help with the entertainment value. And I find that fun from the marketing side because it's such like an untapped market that, still in its infancy stage, if you guys can believe it.
I mean, I think that's really interesting. At Audacy, shameless plug, where we're the #1 sports audio company, we think a lot about the impact of the legalization of gambling around the country, the fragmentation of audiences, and how that's really led to a whole lot more content that's produced there. So you talked about the introduction of streaming networks, you talked about the introduction of social, and when it comes to sports betting in media, we like to call that wagertainment, and the amount of content that's produced around that. You guys have FanDuel TV. Part of what's made you so successful, I think, is the platform itself and the way that users can interact beyond just making bets. You want to talk a little bit about what's going on the platform beyond just lines and the actual ability?
So FanDuel TV, about a year and a half now we've had it, and it's essentially made for watch and wager, kind of like the wagertainment, right? There's a place that you can always watch and you can turn on, and we have racing and we have some amazing shows, Run It Back, and we have Up and Adams with Kay Adams, and it's 24 hours of sports, and it's interacting with fans at all times of the day. And it's really, the thought is that we are always at your fingertips, right? We're always giving you something to engage with, and then go back to our product. And it's not so much an education platform, but it's more of allowing people. There's plenty of sports that we have, like I said, besides horse racing, that you can you can engage with all day long. And I think we're the only ones doing that. And I think when you think about content as a whole, and you think about this space and what's going to make it to the next step, content is always going to be king in some capacity, right? Because we're using content also to bet on it. So, it's got to be something that's engaging and you want more of. And I think it's been really smart the way we think about it. I mean, we've gotten really into the content space. Some friends here are working super closely with all the leagues. For the in-season tournament with the NBA this year, we had a betcast that was brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook with the NBA and TNT. And I think, it's taking it to that next level, being involved in what you're already watching and taking the brand there. I think that's really what's helped set us apart. But really, once again, like just being this one-stop shop for a sports fan or an entertainment fan, if you really think about it, right? You don't necessarily have to be a sports fan. I mean, that's what's kind of fun. I think that's what's fun about online gaming that I don't think people realize is, years ago, your buddies are all sitting in on a couch and like someone's calling their bookie, which is awesome. But if you don't know how to bet, you're kind of embarrassed, right? And you're not really going to ask your friend because that's even more embarrassing. I think what's fun with online is, you can do it at your own pace. And we have all these education tools and we have videos and we have different tabs and teaching you how to bet so that you can do it on your own time and do it in your own space. And I think there's something to be said for that because there is a learning curve. And I think, at first it feels scary to attach your bank account to an app, right? But the whole point is for us, we don't want it to be scary. We want you to feel comfortable. It's like I said, it's supposed to make every moment more. We're supposed to be fun. And I think we really are leaning into that in all different parts of the company, besides the product.
So you're enhancing the entertainment value of the games. You're removing the imposter syndrome from the sports cooler and the sports bar. But I know it's also important for you guys to address responsible gaming within that content. You want to talk a little about how you're
Sure.
approaching that?
So that's that point, right? I mean, obviously we want you to come in, we want you to be a customer, we want you to bet, but it has to be done responsibly. I have to say that's one of the things I love most about FanDuel, and I don't know if anyone would really think about that, but we are always being very proactive about making sure you're doing it safe. And I think that's really important. Betting is a lot easier these days than it ever was. And I think we have all these different tools. You can set how much money you want to bet. You can set how much time you want to spend on the platform, how much, you want to deposit. Like there's all these things that we've put in place to make sure that if you want, that you can do it safely. And it's up to you. And I think, there's only so we can bring you so far, but we also, and we promote it. I'll be honest, like we have a television commercial that is all about responsible gaming. Like we take this really seriously. The leagues take it really seriously and we partner with them on all that too. And, I just think, there's something about, listen, I'm marketing a product that people think is a vice, right? And some people will come at you and say, why would you want to market that? And I think it's because what we're doing on the responsible gaming side that, to me, it's a good marriage, right? It's explaining to you how you can have more fun and do this, but making sure you're doing it in a way that's still safe, right? Because at the end of the day, that's not helping our brand either, right? If you're not doing it safe.
So a lot of the stigma seems to be melting away as it proliferates around the country. So who is your customer now? Is it Uncle Jimmy down at the racetrack with the pencil behind his ear? Is it, Joe down at the sports bar? Is it, the top Taylor Swift fan in the office? Like, who are we actually talking about?
I think the good part is it's everyone, right? I mean, listen, if you're 21, you can do it. And I think that's fun. Listen, Taylor Swift has brought a lot to the game of football. I'm sure the NFL is loving every minute of it. But, I think for us, it's everyone. It's not men. It's not women. Obviously, there's a target, right? But in general, we're seeing, for instance, women are betting tremendously more than they ever have, specifically on the NFL and the NBA. Which makes a lot of sense, right? There's a lot of great, you're looking at like celebrity factor almost, right? Where people know these names and they want to come in and bet. And I think what's great about us is we don't look at it as like, oh, we're only going to talk to women here. Because at the end of the day, it's also things we talk about is people think women only bet on women's sports, which is not the truth. I mean, you look at last year's Final Four for women's basketball. I mean, it was tremendous. ESPN obviously had amazing ratings, but we too had through the roof people. Caitlin Clark, I mean, good for her, right? I mean, she's made that sport even more than it was. And I think that's what's really, what we lean into is that it's not just about, like, you have to be the biggest football fan to bet, right? It should be anybody. You really, you want to follow Caitlin, follow Caitlin and you can bet on her. You don't have to bet. I think you can bet for your school, whatever you feel like. But I think what makes it from a marketing perspective, what makes it so great is that we really are talking to all, you can say sports fans, right? But some people are coming in that aren't sports fans and they want to become sports fans. And a lot of times when you have, a couple of dollars on a game, you're more excited about it than you would have been if you're sitting next to your husband on the couch and he's all engrossed for 8 hours watching sports, right? So we're definitely seeing a big turn there, which is really nice.
The celebrity factor definitely seems to be playing a big role. When we work with you guys at Audacy, a lot of what we do goes beyond spots and dots and just having that presence, and we'll talk a little bit about that with your Super Bowl marketing efforts. But you come to us and with your agency, Ad Results, look to integrate into the content in a deeper way. It's the cover art. It's being part of the actual conversation. It's the social. Why is that? And then what does that look like in other channels beyond audio?
Yeah, I mean, audio specifically, you guys, everyone listens to the radio. There's a million reads an hour, right? And it's very static. And listen, we do those too, but we do really like to, be a part of the content. So like with you guys, right? With WFAN and Boomer, he has his odds boost. And then we take that and that's in our product. And then we put it on social and it becomes more than just like a radio play, right? Or a radio buy. It becomes so much more than that. And that's really how we look at all of our media. Like I was saying before, we do with the NBA, with the in-season tournament, but we do it now. I mean, look, we have on TNT Thursdays, we have, the crew, and we have Charles Barkley, who's also ambassador for us, and we have Same Game Barclays, which is kind of fun, right? And like we leaning into our Same Game Parlay, but now naming it after him, and it's seamless within the actual content, which is the whole point of it, right? Is you don't want it to feel like it's being thrown at you, but you want to understand why would this help my watching experience? And I think, what we're doing with him too, it really shows that. It shows that we're not just buying media, we're not just buying ads, right? It's making sure everything is coming across where you see where it fits into the content.
As one of those husbands who spends 8 hours on the couch engrossed in the games, it feels like you guys are moving less towards a regionalized strategy. I live in New Jersey, so it's been legal for a while in New Jersey, but more towards a national focus. Is that just my experience, or is that real?
No, it's true. I guess it was last year was the first time we started buying national media. Part of that is, now we're live in 21 states, which is almost half the country. But, when you think about it, listen, you can look at it from a dollar and cents and a reach. It makes more sense. But, for us, it's legalization is happening faster than it has in the past. And we want to make sure our brand is already top of mind before we're legal in your state. We also have a fantasy platform, right? We have a casino platform. We have other platforms that you can engage with even if you're not in a sports betting state. So for us, getting the brand out there, being a part of sports is really important. And that's so much of like what we do with the leagues and teams is showing, how we're thinking bigger. That's not just New Jersey, right? Which it was for a long time. But now it's bigger and better.
So thinking bigger, there's a big game coming up in a couple of weeks. You guys seem to be all in on that. You want to give us a little background on what that's been like for the last couple of years to be involved with the Super Bowl?
Yeah, sure. So last year we bought our first Super Bowl commercial nationally. I'm going to expect that all you guys know about last year's Kick of Destiny. But if not, I'll give you a little background. So we basically had Rob Gronkowski, who's also a partner of ours, and asked him to kick a live field goal on Super Bowl Sunday. And as you guys know, Rob is not a kicker. So there was a lot that went into that. But it was awesome. It was actually in the third quarter. We were live. We were in the middle of the desert in Arizona. And then the 45-mile-an-hour winds picked up, and unfortunately, he missed it. But what was so fun about last year was we made it a part of the conversation. Our campaign started during the playoffs, and it became kind of, we're setting up a story, and then it ended at the Super Bowl. And what's fun is being able to be a part of the Super Bowl and not a part of the teams playing, right? So we still were galvanizing everyone behind us, trying to get people to root for one thing that wasn't one of the teams, which as a marketing person, there's not many brands who could do that. So it was really exciting. But given that Gronk missed it,
which you've made clear was disappointing to you.
It was very disappointing. He will say he did it on purpose. He didn't do it on purpose. But it really was crazy wins. It was like Wizard of Oz out of all of a sudden. But so what were we going to do this year, right? We have another spot, and do we try and top that? Do we not? Like, what do we think about? And after all of our research and conversations, we decided to do a redemption kick. So Kick of Destiny 2. We did learn a lot of stuff from last year. Last year, there wasn't as much involvement of our fans, right? Like if you bet on the Super Bowl, you could win a piece of $10 million. But we know that there was nothing that kind of, people were asking, like, can I pick if he's going to make it or miss it? So when we went into this year's discussions, that was a big part of it. So now you can actually pick if he's going to make or miss it. We have 1.4 million people have already gone online. I will say it's definitely skewing. I think it's 78% make. So it's interesting, but we haven't seen the weather report yet, so who knows if that will change. But we've set up this campaign, right, where it started off with what are we doing, getting Gronk to want to do it again. He was down the dumps last year, and our campaign, you guys might have seen it. It's him walking in a desert.
Well, do you want to
I can show
talk
you the
through it,
last.
or do we want to?
I'll tell you a little bit, and then we'll get to the. I'll show you one of them. But what's really funny is we have Carl Weathers, and when you think about sequels, right? Who needs to be in a sequel but Carl Weathers? So he comes and basically picks Gronk up and is like, "Let's go, we're doing this." And then we at the same time looking at internally what were we going to do for the Super Bowl. And we brought John Cena in, and John Cena's never been a villain, right? So we use him as the villain in our spots, and he's the one who essentially we were going to use him in our commercial until Gronk came back to us and was like, I want to do this. So Cena is like anti-Gronk, right? He's like, he's going to miss it. And, really playing into that has been fun. And then I'll share with you guys our last spot. It's called Trailer, and it's really gearing up for the next 2 weeks. And so what you'll see this year is between the coin toss and the national anthem, we'll have the live kick. We'll be on the Strip in Vegas, so people can come and watch it. That's another thing is, I will be honest, the production of last year's was beautiful, but it also made it look like it was fake and rigged. And we know that. So this year we're really leaning into having a live audience, using cameras that are very different, right? Like when you go and watch the Today Show and you see people out on the plaza, it's things like that we're leaning into. So we'll have that. And then in the second quarter, we're actually going to have another spot that celebrates whether he made it or missed it. Because at the end of the day, even if he misses it this year, there's people who want him to miss it, So there's going to be a celebration no matter what. But what's kind of tricky for us is we'll actually use the live footage from that spot earlier, like half an hour earlier, and put it into this commercial to then air in the second quarter. So we're definitely evolving this campaign. Gronk is super excited, which is fun. So yeah, we'll see what it is. But yeah, if we want to play, we have our last commercial that started running this weekend for you guys. Kind of brings it all together.
It's no good, he missed it. I don't kick. I catch. You're gonna miss, Gronk.
You ready to do this?
Not yet.
You gotta let it go, Gronk.
But I can't.
There are no second chances in this life. Only second kicks. Let's get to work.
Rob Gronkowski coming back for the FanDuel kick of Destiny 2. Last year he missed. Will he redeem himself? We shall see.
That leg you got is special. Let's kick some field goals.
This is the redemption kick.
Let's go, one more. Come on, baby, remember what I taught you.
Kick after kick, my leg gets stronger. That's all I think about. People are going to be thinking against you. They want you to miss. What do you want?
Mr. Gronkowski.
I gotta redeem myself.
You're gonna miss, Gronk. They're all out there saying Gronk's gonna miss.
But there's a million more people that want me to make.
I'm acting like some hotshot kicker, dancing around, showing off that leg.
Don't you see, Carl? He's not a kicker anymore. He's a machine.
It's unstoppable.
I'm making that kick.
Are you ready to make the kick of destiny this time?
He is ready.
America picks. Gronk kicks.
No pressure.
So kicking things off between the coin flip and the anthem, how are you going to sleep on Saturday night?
Not.
Got to be quite an adventure doing it live. And do you feel like that played a major role in the success of the campaign last year, hence leading to your desire not to sleep on Saturday night again this year?
I think so. Once again, it's like what I was saying earlier. Not many people can do what we're doing. Not many brands can do what we're doing. So really leaning into it. Listen, having FanDuel as a national advertiser, doing a campaign such as this is one thing, but yeah, adding the live component adds a lot more. I mean, what you guys probably, a lot of you in the room would understand, but it's, there's a feed that has to be correct. There has to be editing that's good, camera, timing, like all of this has to be perfect in order to get it. And last year we had a great partner in Fox and this year CBS, and that's really helped us also figure out, the way to make this happen.
And I'm willing to place a bet that a lot of folks in the room will be in Vegas for the Super Bowl. So if they want to come and watch it live,
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
can they see
Please do.
Where's it?
Oh, we're going to be in the Tropicana parking lot, actually. So we'll be there. Yeah, we'll be practicing all week. You can come by, you can watch, and then...
No Wizard of Oz sandstorms, hopefully?
I haven't looked at the weather yet, but I do know it's going to be cold next week, I heard. So that could affect, maybe you have to warm them up a little bit.
The line is moving.
Yeah.
So once the kick is made, once the game is over, what's next? How are you guys going to stay top of mind the rest of the year? What else is on the calendar? What are the tent poles?
Yeah, it doesn't end. Well, listen, we have NBA playoffs, we still have NHL, and we have the Derby is coming. That's something that we really leaned into last year was the Kentucky Derby. As a partner, we were the only sports book to offer racing within the sports book. So it was something we did. We'll do it again this year. It's I think what sports betting has allowed is sports such as horse racing that maybe didn't have that large of an audience now care about it, right? And so much of what we're doing is making every sport that important to you. So, I mean, I hate to say it, we don't really have a downtime, right? Because sports are all day, every day. But we just make sure, listen, we use Charles Barkley in our NBA creative for playoffs. That's another way we lean into it, especially with NBA, right? We have this great relationship with him and we bring it to life in our commercials, and we use Gronk in our Kentucky Derby spot. We really try and really touch everyone in a way where they're understanding where we're coming from, right? And feel the emotion that comes with sports betting. And that's so much of how we're looking at making every moment more for everyone.
Yeah, but we watched it this weekend. We had some folks together to watch the games on Sunday, and it was amazing to see how the engagement in the fourth quarter was still completely locked in, even though the game seemed to be locked up, because people had skin in the game. And that's one of the things that we see with Wagertainment is that people are listening to the same content as they would be leading up to the Super Bowl on Tuesday nights, because they do have skin in the game, and it is that important for them. So before we open it up to questions, make or miss?
Once again, I haven't seen the weather report. But he is,
Science and play.
I know. He is an elite athlete, guys. I gotta be honest. Like, just watching him do this is fascinating. He's gonna make it this year. He will.
All right.
If not, then don't invite me back.
A lot of the folks in the room are doing things that have never been done before, new technology. You're working in a space that up until a few years ago was outside the lines, and there wasn't legalization. So the pool of people who come from a long history of working in the sports betting field isn't really there. So when you're thinking about building a workforce specifically for marketing, what are the things that you look for to find those innovative minds?
Yeah, you're right. Most of those people are overseas, right, where it's been legal forever. For us, listen, the FanDuel culture is amazing. It's all about working hard, but also having fun. And, I look at culture a lot, but I also look at people with different experiences. For me, I want someone who loves marketing, understands marketing, the innovation of it. You can teach somebody sports betting. So for me, it's looking at that. And to your point, there's so many other brands that are doing innovative things that actually make sense within our product. So bringing those people together has been great. I mean, our product we've done things such as we have a new product called the Pulse. We have Explore. These are tabs. These are things that make betting easier. We're seeing like a ton of engagement already. So yeah, for me, I think it's to your point, like you can't hire someone with 10 years sports betting experience. But I don't necessarily need that, right? I need somebody who's really looking at marketing and like, how are we going to keep taking this brand to the next level and keep us as America's #1 sports book?
Awesome.
Jeremy, we have a question back here.
All right, Mac, who do we have?
Hi, my name's Samuel Money. I'm with Sustainable Brands. And something you said a little earlier about responsible participation, responsible gambling. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you're thinking about that for your brand and also the products that you're bringing to market, that kind of responsible mindset for the participants, for your customers, users, stakeholders?
We have goals of, we want, over 50% of our customers to be using these tools. So it's something that we put forward, like I said, in all of our league relationships and team relationships, and then with any media that we're spending. But yeah, I mean, it's really pushing and showing that, these tools are there to help you. And these tools aren't, some people think like, oh, they don't want me to, trying to tie my hands together, but it's not. It's to make it good for you and make you feel more comfortable. And like I said, I think we're the leader in the space, and we're the ones constantly talking about it, which I think just shows, right? The connotation of sports betting can get a bad rap at times, but it's looking at it that, okay, we don't want it to get a bad rap, right? We're here to make it better and be more entertainment value, but leaning into the responsible gaming and showing that, you could still do this. You can do it safely. Like, you don't have to go down these rabbit holes that, sometimes people automatically think you will.
Hi, my name's Chirag. Just wanted to play a little bit on this idea. So you're bringing in all these big sort of entities, right? Obviously the teams themselves, John Cena, Gronk, all these big names. And you talk a little bit about this loyalty. How do you balance that? Like, obviously we have loyalty to the teams, but are we really building loyalty to FanDuel itself? Or are we just waiting for the next competitor that's going to offer me a better promotion and I'm just going to jump to them? So how do you, one, maintain that sort of loyalty to yourself? And is there a metric that you're paying attention to that tells you this fandom loyalty level?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a few metrics, right? You have your brand awareness, you have intent to bet, right? Are you the first brand that you think of when someone says sports betting? Did they say FanDuel first? But a lot of it too is, like I said from the beginning, our product. Nobody wants to be betting and their product go down and their money is stuck someplace and they can't get a bet out, or they can't cash out, right? Or they can't withdraw. So at the end of the day, our product has to be the best of the best in order to keep people there. But yeah, there are plenty of people who have multiple wallets, as we call it, across many books, right? Because they're looking for the best deals, the best odds, the best. But at the end of the day, you start to see the metrics where people start to spend more time on one when the experience is better, right? And I think that's so much of what we're trying to do is feel as if we're part of Fandom and not elite. And, we use, Gronk and Cena and Carl in this particular campaign, but we think a lot about, if you'll notice, a lot of our campaigns don't have any celebrities in that, and there's a reason for that, right? There's a reason of like feeling not elite, making it feel as if anyone could bet on the platform.
Thank you. That was really well said. Thank you.
Hi. With the wagertainment, how do you guys position yourselves against like the more formal forum with like ESPN, and then the more like casual, less restrictive form of like Barstool and the YouTube gamblers? Where do you guys see yourself kind of fitting within that?
Do you want to talk about wagertainment or?
Yeah, I mean, when we think about it under the guise that we own an FCC license, so we have to play things pretty straight and really recognize what the law is dictating. It's not user-generated content, so we're really focused on providing content that is, I think you saw ESPN or Penn National run into that challenge a little bit where, Barstool wasn't towing that line, and that led to them moving to ESPN. Not really my space that I'm super focused on, but that was my understanding through the trades.
Yeah, I mean, there's different fans at different books, but I think what we're trying to, like I was saying before, we're not talking to one type of fan. We're talking to fans. So there will be some who are more, looking at the Barstool route versus want to go to the ESPN, want to come to FanDuel. I mean, that's what's kind of nice about this space, is that we're still figuring it out, right? We're still trying to figure out who wants to bet with us versus DraftKings versus all these others. And I think there's a place for everyone. And the way we've really, like I said, leaned into it is trying to make every moment more for our fans and really and take that to the next level, which our competitors are not. That's not their focus right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. And any of the other questions,